as little carries as he's getting to save himself towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, I think he played, 2.5 quarters maybe, and so, only 12 carries. But it's when you got great backs, that's an equalizer in the game of football. When you can run the ball effectively, they're not going to all be 12-yard gains or 90-yard gains, and that's not what I mean by effectively. But if you can be efficient in the run game and not have negative plays, and then it just puts a lot of pressure. It puts a lot of pressure on a defense throughout the course of the game, especially if you've got the ability to throw the ball. And that's when we've been at our best, is when we can do both. And you get in a game like the other night, and you never really know sometimes until you get in a game on what the team's identity is going to be or what their plan is going to be. And but when you have the ability to run and throw it, it just gives you a lot more opportunity to move the ball and win. Because again, at the end of the day, something has to be there. They can't. It comes down to what's in the box and what's on top. It's just simple math. So when you've got an elite back, that's an equalizer, because now it typically dictates how they got to play on defense. When you can't run the ball effectively, and there's a lot more they can do, and they can stop the run with fewer people than you have, and you're at a disadvantage. So when you got a great back that can run through tackles, can make a guy miss, it just creates a lot of strain on the defense. And so we're really fortunate to have a guy that not only can do those things, but he can also, as you saw the other night, he can take it to the house. And he can catch the ball. He's worked really hard to catch the ball, and I think that's a part of his game that you'll see continue to show up throughout the season. Linjay got most of the catches the other night, had a couple nice plays in the pass game, but it's a weapon for us, for sure, to be able to run the ball.
Coach, after losing a 4-year starting place kicker in Hugel, how important was that 51-yard field goal for BT, just building his confidence going into a big game like this?
Yeah, it was huge. I think he thought I was going to let him run out there and kick that short one to early on. We dropped the fourth down ball in the end zone there, but it was awesome. And we've seen that in practice, and that's the best part for me. Because I thought early, our first scrimmage in particular, I was real disappointed with him because he had such a great camp, awesome camp, and then all of a sudden we go to kind of our preseason game, and he didn't have a good day. And so to be able to see him, take it to game day, because he's been awesome as a kickoff guy. I mean, what a weapon he is. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But to see him run out there and not even flinch, and there's no doubt, right down the pipe, that's huge for us, because it gives everybody confidence, because again, I need to see it. I need to see it on game day. I need to be able to have confidence to run him out there and make those 50-yarders, a 55-yarder, because he can do it. He can do it. And there's certain situations in games where, that might be the difference in the game. So I think confidence-wise, it's definitely something he can build on.
Johnson had a great camp. Obviously, we saw that roll over into this first game. Him and Kayvon Wallace right now on a rotation basis, how impressed were you by Denzel, and do you see him have an opportunity to cement himself in that role?
Yeah, I think all 4 of our safeties are starters, and y'all have heard me say that many times in camp. I look at Denzel as a starter. I look at Kayvon as a starter. I look at Muse as a starter. I look at Nolan as a starter. Nolan Turner played. He was almost player of the game. He was one of the top guys nominated for that, and played great. So all 4 of those guys are interchangeable. They all bring great things. They all have good understanding, and they support each other. I mean, so it's just a huge blessing for us to have 4 guys at that position. This time last year, we were just all like this, please, will Denzel and Nolan come through for us? Can we just get something out of them? And boy, did they. And, and you're talking about 2 guys that weren't offered Division I scholarships. Nobody offered Nolan a scholarship. Nobody offered a Division I scholarship to Denzel. And, here's 2 guys that are playing at the highest level of college football, and they're just great examples of, evaluation and development. To the nth degree. So both those guys can run. and just are so much more confident. And then Muse, he's just a savvy vet. Same thing with Kayvon. Kayvon is an outstanding talent. So, all four of them are, graded well. And Kayvon gave up one play, but really played a good game. So all four of them are starters to us. And you'll see them in different packages. We get into some of our sub packages. That's one of the reasons we do some of that stuff, because we feel really good about the depth that we have on the back end.
Who provides you the best combination of pass coverage at safety?
I think they all can get the job done. I mean, it just, based on what we're asking them to do. If you're looking for a guy that's going to just go line up, I mean, Denzel's played corner for us. So he could go and function as a corner. But I think they all have proven they can cover. And then what type of team are you playing? I mean, they're all physical in the box, but Muse is he's a downhill dude that can come in there, and in fact, he'll probably end up playing Will at the next level. He's probably going to be a guy that will slide into the box, but he can run. You saw that the other night. I mean, his speed is what makes him special. I mean, he can run. And so they all have their strengths. They all have their weaknesses. But they all have knowledge of what we're doing, and the positioning of how we use those guys is critical. But they can all get the job done at the highest level for us.
You've been kind of a trendsetter using a freshman quarterback a year ago. Last week, 9 freshman quarterbacks got wins. What is it about the guys who are coming in through the coffers now that makes them more prepared to be able to handle this level of football?
I don't know if I'm a trendsetter. I just have had a couple of really good players that came in here as freshmen and were ready. I still think it's more the exception than the norm. But I would say probably, just from my own experience, it's what these guys are exposed to in high school. I mean, Trevor and Deshaun have been starting since the 9th grade, and they had been really coached to the nth degree with a lot of what we do. And they came in here with just a really good foundation from a football standpoint. And had both, nationally been recruited and just all, exposed to a lot of things across the country. And so I just think from a, mental standpoint, they kind of understood, even though it's different in high school, they still have kind of been under pressure, if you will. Both played in Friday Night Lights type towns with high expectations and things like that, and had been in state championships. And so I think their mentality and their makeup was really good. But at the end of the day, just their football foundation early gave them a chance to really grasp and understand, what they needed to be able to do to go execute at a high level, against the different looks and things that you see at this level. So, and then they're just, also well trained these days. I mean, they're just in shape. They spend 7-on-7 time year round. I mean, it's a constant. It's just different. From when I was coming up. I mean, these guys are doing 7-on-7 leagues. They're just constantly in the gun. Reading things, and so I just think that's part of it. How the game has changed, because I really think a lot of the high school has trickled up. Because again, I think the high schools were some of the first ones to start changing the game from a spread standpoint, simply because high school coaches are competing with year-round baseball, year-round basketball, lacrosse, and I mean, I don't have anything against the option, but or even more. I played in the I formation, I right, I left, and when we got fancy, we went split backs. Oh my God, they went split back, but you still had an X and a Z. A flanker and a split end. And that's it. I didn't know what a 3 wide outset. I mean, what I'd have done to play in a world like today. So you better like it. You better like going out there and stalk blocking. You better like cracking, and if you get lucky, they're going to throw a out cut to you. Oh my God, they throw a hitch. They call it a hitch. You just didn't throw the ball a lot in those days. But you didn't have Fortnite. You didn't have, all these games and iTunes and, social media. And you just didn't have that. I mean, what the heck was I going to do if I went home? What was I going to do? I mean, sit there? look at the wall. You got 3 channels. You got Lawrence Welk and Hee Haw and Happy Days. That's what you got. Taj, I'll explain that to you later. But that's it. So you played ball. I mean, and there really was no. It's just what you did, and it was hard. It was hard, and football was different, and the game has changed. There's so much more competition out there, and so I think the high school coaches are the first ones to kind of change the game. Everything used to be, pro down, and I think it's changed now. And all these pro teams used to always say, "Oh, man, we can't do it. Give me a break." You got Tom Brady in the gun, running zone read screens, and all kind of RPOs and stuff like that. The game has trickled up, but it started in the high schools because coaches had to compete with all these other sports to get kids to not play year-round basketball, to not play year-round baseball. So they had to change the game because nobody wanted to come out there and just run the I formation every day or run the option, and so they made it fun. And a little bit kind of like basketball on grass with some of these 7-on-7 things that they do. And I think that has been a huge part of the evolution of this quarterback that we see, and you see the same thing at the next level. You see Deshaun, you see Mahomes, you just right in, as the schemes have changed and they're able to be successful.
How hard of a departure is that from the conventional wisdom that, a more experienced guy would start over a freshman coming in, just because I know that a lot of that is merit-based through the levels, through the ranks like that?
Yeah, I still think that's typically the case, but the best player is going to play, at the end of the day. And I think in most cases, if you've got Trevor Lawrence is a sophomore, and we signed a freshman this year, but he didn't beat Trevor out. It doesn't mean that Tyson's not a good player. Tyson's a really good player. It's just Trevor's more experienced. He's just ahead. So I think still that's typically the case. It's hard to beat out a veteran guy. You've got to really be elite, and that's what's happened in our case here. So it's just again something I think you'll continue to see across the country. Guys being well equipped to come in, and then you see other things. You see a lot of guys come in January. Deshaun came in January. Trevor came in January. So these aren't true freshmen. These are redshirt freshmen with more experience, because they've been through a spring and a spring game and scrimmages and a whole summer. They've had installation for the 3rd time, not the first time. Used to you didn't never see that. You only got a quarterback. You got him in June or July, and it was first time to get installation. Now these guys are on their 3rd round of installation. A lot of them, most of them are mid-years these days.
I don't know if you saw the comments from a Texas A&M player who predicted an upset over you guys yesterday. Do you actually look for is bulletin board material an actual thing in the locker room?
Oh yeah, I don't have to look for it. People just give it to me. That's usually one of the players. Hey, did you see that? I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that, heard that, and so yeah, I don't have to. I mean, used to. That was you had to do kind of stuff like that.
As a veteran of the Superior years, I feel like you should be.
Well, I mean, there's no secrets anymore. Like my point is back when I was playing, that's where bulletin board material came from. Was it had to come from some paper, and you'd literally cut it out because back in the day you had bulletin boards. So how did you communicate with the players? Now you know what I do? I just go to Teamworks, and I hit all 120 guys. Hey, have your butts on time. We're starting. Whatever I want to say to them. Boom, in seconds, they got it. Taj, you'd have loved that. I would have loved that with you, man. Teamworks you to death. But now we got all this technology, but back in the day, you'd walk in and there's a bulletin board. It'd be like that, and you'd go, holy cow, are you serious? And they'd have it highlighted, on the bulletin board. Well, those days are gone because as soon as something happens, everybody knows, like instantly. Your phone, it's a notification on your phone. It's like instant. So it's just a different world. So I don't really have to say anything. And that stuff that don't last long anyway. You better get yourself ready to play. It's about execution and playing well but it's fun. That's just kind of makes the game fun. That's this passion of college football. But whether it's something that comes from a fan or a player from another team or whatever, those things, it's virtual bulletin boards now. It's virtual. But back in the day, that's what you had to do, you know. You'd go and you'd post on the bulletin board what time the team meeting was that day, every day over at the academic center, and everybody have to go check the wall. You're not doing that stuff anymore. They just look at their watch, you know. Oh, such and such just said something. Oh, they just literally look at their watch. I can't. I'm still wearing a Timex. So.
On another lighter note, have you ever seen a team bring out an entire weight set to an opposing sideline to warm up for a game?
No, I've never seen that. Hey, don't knock it till you try it, I guess. I don't know, but I'd never seen that. That was a new thing. But there's a lot of things that are great today that I hadn't seen in my time that are now great. So maybe that's a new trend. I don't know.
Dabo, I know this is way off the campus, but reports came out, I don't know if you saw him yesterday, that Jake Bentley might be out for maybe half the season with a foot injury. Just because you play those guys 3 times a year, you've got to know Jake, I'm sure, just a little tiny bit. Any reaction to that?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I did hear about it yesterday, and you know, I hate that for him. I hope it's not as serious as they say. I guess the report was he's out for half the year or something. Hopefully it's not. You know, the kid's worked really hard. He's a great young man, and you know, he's a product of this state, and you know, I know is committed to his team, and I know has put the work in to be the best that he can be. And so, you know, you hate to see anybody lose their opportunity, you know, especially their senior year. It's tough. It's a part of the game. We all know that. But you know, just heart goes out to him, and hopefully he can, you know, recover and, again, not be as serious as they say.